Hello, I'm Professor Dale, and I'm going to be your instructor for this course. This is Math 401, Calculus 2. And for this video, what I want to do is just go over our syllabus, hopefully give you a sense of how the course is going to work. Yeah, that's basically all that we're looking at for this video. So this is the syllabus. You should be able to find this in Canvas. And just kind of going over the information sort of from top to bottom here. In the top, you're going to see kind of some basic info about the course, what our course code is, my name, some contact information for me. You'll see there's an email address and a phone number. That's my office phone. It's probably the worst way to get a hold of me. If you want to get a hold of me effectively, you should use my email. That's going to be the best way. You'll also notice that I have office hours listed here. I'll talk a little bit about how office hours are going to work for this course, but they're kind of divided into two categories. There's an on-campus office hour that I have on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and then there's an online office hour that I have on Tuesdays and Thursdays. The online one is one I'm going to go into more detail in a little bit as we get further through this syllabus. The on-campus office hour is just right after a different class that I teach on campus on those days. For those, you don't need to make any appointment. The way those work is you just drop into my office, which is shown here, Rada Hall North 340, anytime in these hours between 10:30 and 11:30 on Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. Because I do office hours on a drop-in basis, and it's the same office hour for all of the classes that I teach this semester, there is a possibility that you'll have to wait a little bit if somebody got there ahead of you and is getting help. But you are welcome to stick around. You're welcome to sit in. If I'm already speaking with somebody else, you might get some of your questions answered just by listening. That's always it's always a possibility. So if you happen to be on campus at all this semester, you can take advantage of those. And then we'll return to the online office hours in a little bit. Moving down a little bit more, here's the textbook we're using. It's James Stewart's Calculus Early Transcendentals. We're using the 9th edition. If you have been taking calculus through Sac City so far, and you've already completed Math 400, you should already have this book. For Calculus 1, 2, and 3, regardless of who is teaching that course, this is the book that we're supposed to be using. So in all likelihood, you already have this book, but double check, make sure. It does need to be the 9th edition because earlier editions, the homework problems that are at the end of each section change a little bit. And all of the homework for this class is assigned out of this current edition. So if you're using an older edition, you're going to be doing the wrong homework, most likely. So please make sure that you have the 9th edition. It doesn't matter if it's an electronic copy or a hard copy. You just need one or the other. Okay? Below this, you're going to see a little blurb that talks about what we cover in this course. This is the exact course description that you see in the course catalog for Math 401. So there's nothing different here. I literally copied and pasted it, but it's here so you can take a look at that. If you haven't already looked at the course description, I would do that just to give yourself a sense of what it is that we're talking about in Calculus 2. Below this, you have our student learning outcomes. It's this bulleted list. And this is going into a little bit more detail about exactly what you should leave this course knowing how to do. All of these topics are things that future courses that use Math 401 as a prerequisite are going to expect you to know now. So that's what we're going to be covering this semester. Okay, let's go a little further down. The next line here is sort of my motto, I guess you could say, that I put this on all of my syllabi for all of the classes that I teach. It just says that, remember, math is not a spectator sport. Nobody becomes proficient at math simply by listening to lectures. The key to success is practice, practice, practice. It's super cliche, but it's also true. More than other subjects, generally speaking, math requires a great deal of practice. If this were a history class, then what you could probably do is just attend the lecture, listen, take some notes, and then you're pretty much set. And and this is my kind of uninformed position opinion, because I don't teach history, but that's sort of my memory of it as a student. Math, you really get maybe about 10% of your knowledge just from listening to me talk about it. So if you aren't putting the time in to practicing the stuff that we're doing in this class, with the homework that I assign and things like that, then really you're not giving yourself the opportunity to learn it well. And you should not be expecting to do very well on tests and things either if you're not putting the time in. So that's kind of what that's getting at right there. All right, below that, we're going to get into some of the more detailed stuff regarding how this class functions. And hopefully this asks or answers some of the questions you might have about kind of the basic flow of the class and things like that. So the first thing we have here is lectures. This class is a fully asynchronous online class. There are no in-class meetings, and there are no live meetings. We don't do anything on Zoom or anything similar to that. That would make this a synchronous class, and we're doing this as an asynchronous class. So what that means for you as far as the lectures are concerned, the actual time where I am teaching you directly, that's going to be done through pre-recorded videos, kind of like this one, that you will find in Canvas. I'm going to post a module once a week in Canvas. You'll find that under your modules tab, and they'll show up every Monday. And in that module, you'll find a few things, but among those will be the lecture videos for the full week. So, you know, each week you'll see a collection of videos posted all at once. Your job as the student is to watch through those over the course of the week. Okay? You kind of get to do a little self-pacing in that sense. So you can work through all the videos on that Monday if you want to. You can spread them out over the week if you want to. It's kind of your choice. You do want to make sure that you are balancing, how quickly you're watching through the lectures and how you're, integrating your homework problems, no pun intended. This is a calculus class after all. So, you will figure out what pace works for you, but don't put these things off until the last minute. I do get students sometimes who look at the fact that I post a module once per week and they think, okay, I have the whole week to do this. I'm just going to wait until Friday or even Saturday to start looking through these videos. This is a 5-unit class, and it's a notoriously challenging class. So if you're not taking advantage of the time that you have at the beginning of the week, but if you're waiting until the end of the week to start working on this stuff, you're going to find yourself getting behind pretty quickly. So, please take advantage of the time that you have early in the week to get a start on it. So that's a little bit about lectures. The next thing I want to talk about is this section here. I'm talking about discussions. And this is also where we're going to get into the discussion of online office hours, because this is connected to that. So, sorry, my printer's making a bunch of noise. In Canvas, you will find a few tabs. I mentioned the modules tab previously, where the weekly modules are going to be posted. There's also going to be one called discussions. And in the discussions tab, you're going to find discussion topics for several different things. There will be a discussion topic for each chapter that we cover in class, specifically for the lectures. So you'll see something that will say Chapter 6 lectures, Chapter 7 lectures, and so on. Those are the places that you want to go to ask questions about the lecture videos specifically. So let's just say you're working through the very first section of videos that we cover, section 6.1, where we talk about areas between curves. You're watching through those videos, you see one of the examples that I do in the video, and you think, I didn't really understand this particular step or something like that. What you would do to ask a question about that is you would go to the Chapter 6 lectures discussion topic and post your question there. For those specific posts, what I want you to do is reference the video. So tell me which video you're asking about and the time code on the video where your question is coming from. So if it's like 9 minutes into the video, the part 1 video or something like that. Give me that information so that I can quickly go find that video and look at the thing that you're asking about. And then I'll answer your question with a follow-up post. Okay, so this is how I do office hours online. So the idea is that, you know, I'm there to answer your questions during that time that's listed up here. I'm going to go up here, Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. But it's not live. So we're not doing, you know, Zoom or something like that. And every semester I always get people asking me, you know, can I do a Zoom office hour with you? I don't offer that. So just know that if you're going to ask about arranging a Zoom meeting with me at some point in the semester, the answer is going to be no, because this is how I do office hours. In addition to those lecture video discussion questions, there's also going to be another set of discussion questions. Sorry, I meant discussion topics. There's going to be another set of discussion topics for homework questions, and they're organized in the same way. You're going to see something that says Chapter 6 homework, Chapter 7 homework, and so on and so forth. We're going to talk about how homework works in a little bit, but if you have questions on a homework problem, that's where you post those. Make sure you're posting them in the correct chapter and whatnot. One thing I'll say about posting questions on homework problems, I want you to be specific about what it is you're asking for help on. So in particular, I want you to have tried the problem, to have given it an honest attempt before you ask for help. Okay. And then in your question for that homework problem, you tell me what you tried, because that's going to be much more helpful for me in figuring out the best way to assist you on that homework problem. As best as you can, avoid questions that basically just say, how do I do problem 10? Or I'm stuck on problem 13, or whatever it is, right? Because that's not very informative for me. I don't know what's causing you the problem. So that's just kind of a basic protocol for that. And then one more thing, in the discussions topic, you're going to find a few more discussion topics that are separate from lecture videos and homework problems. I'm going to put up some review material for tests when tests come up. So there's going to be discussion topics for those specifically as well. They'll say something like test 1 review or test 2 review. You can ask questions on the review sheets in those topics. And then there's one final topic that's going to be at the top called general discussion. And that's just sort of a miscellaneous topic. If you have questions about anything that's, you know, separate from the lecture videos, the test review, or the homework problems, you can ask those there. Those questions are typically, you know, just clarifying questions on things about how the course functions, or, you know, if you're trying to connect with other students to form study groups, you know, you can post something in there and just say, hey, you know, I'm looking to form a study group. If anybody's interested, you know, message me or whatever. That's kind of what that topic's for. Okay, that's it for discussion topics. Next up, this paragraph here concerns a scanner. So in this class, it's a fully online class, which means you have to be submitting your tests and your homework online, right? I'm not collecting any physical work from you. But I don't use things like My Math Lab or similar online platforms. So you are actually handwriting your work, whether it's homework or tests or what have you. And for that reason, in order to submit it to me, you need some way of scanning your work. There's a couple of ways to do that. One way is if you have a physical hardware scanner. You know, usually, you know, these days people can get printer scanner combos for pretty cheap. If you happen to have one of those, that's one option for you. You need to scan it, and the scanned file needs to be a PDF. That's the way that I collect those. So don't send me JPEGs, don't send me other file types. It has to be a PDF. And in addition to that, it has to be one PDF. So I'll mention this again in the homework section on the next page, but your homework assignments, when you turn them in, it's going to be a full week's worth of homework at a time. That means your homework assignments are going to be multiple pages for each one. I don't want you to give me a separate file for each page. That's that makes it very difficult for me to grade. I want you to be able to scan all of your homework assignments or all of your tests or whatever it is as a single PDF file, which should have multiple pages in that one file. Okay, so you need to know how to do that. And there's a little assignment that I'm going to give you at the very beginning of the course that's going to help you, kind of practice that, I guess. But like I said, you can use a hardware scanner if you have one. Most students use a scanning app on their smartphone, and those work perfectly fine. I use those as well. So apps that I know a lot of students have used, Cam Scanner, which I mentioned right here, is a popular one amongst my students, and most of them have had no real issues with that. It'll scan multiple pages to a PDF. You just need to learn how to use it. That's a recommended one. Personally, I use the Dropbox app, so I mentioned that here. I use that because I already have a Dropbox account that I use for, just file storage and stuff like that. But the app for Dropbox has a scanning feature in it, and it'll scan PDFs right to your Dropbox account. So for me, that's actually very convenient, and it's super intuitive. It works really well. So I recommend that if you have a Dropbox account, or if you want to make a Dropbox account. It's free, so you can do that as well. One thing I do want to mention, and this is really, really important, please look over your scan, whether it's for a test or a homework assignment, before you submit it. There's a couple of reasons for this. Sometimes people will scan things out of order without realizing it. I don't want you to be submitting homework or tests or things if they're out of order. So that's one thing you want to be looking for. Make sure everything is in order. You want to make sure that your scanner didn't crop anything out. I need to see the problem numbers, so if you're doing, say, problems 1, 2, and 5 from one of the homework assignments, I need to see a 1, a 2, and a 5. I need to be able to see what problems go with what numbers. And sometimes those numbers get cropped out when people are rushing through their scanning and whatnot. So you need to make sure that everything is in the image, it's not cropped out. And then you also need to make sure that nothing is blurry, because if it's blurry and I can't read it, I can't give you credit for it. And that's really bad for tests. You don't want that to happen on a test. Okay. On this topic, I want to mention one more thing. A lot of people nowadays are doing their homework and sometimes even their tests using a tablet and a stylus. And so if you're doing that, you generally have the option to save your work as a PDF, and you're not actually using a physical pen and paper, you're just using the tablet. I am also okay with you doing that. That's fine. I'm going to caution you though. I generally recommend against people using that method for tests. And the reason why is because without fail, every single semester that I've been doing these asynchronous classes for the last 3 years, I always get somebody who submits a test who has worked through it on a tablet like that, and something glitches on them, where either not all of the pages are saved correctly, or the file is corrupted when they upload it and it won't open on my end. It literally every single semester it has happened. Even though I have recommended against it, people still do it. People are still losing points on tests because they're not looking over their scan to make sure that a glitch didn't occur. So just make sure you check those scans before uploading them. Okay, let's go ahead and go on to the next page here. So next up is homework. I talked a little bit about homework already, but the way homework is going to work is it's going to be assigned on a weekly basis. And it's going to cover whatever lectures or whatever sections I lecture on in a given week. So let's just say hypothetically for week 1, we cover sections 6.1, 6.2, and 6.3. Then that means the homework for that week will cover sections 6.1, 6.2, 6.3. How do you know what you're doing for homework? Well, in Canvas, in that modules tab, you're going to see a module that's titled homework. And in the homework module, you're going to see a PDF file that says homework assignment sheet or something like that. That PDF is going to give you a grid that's going to show you each section that we cover in the course with all of the assigned problems from each of those sections. Okay, those correspond to the exercise sets in your textbook. So for example, if you go to the very top and you see 6.1 and you look at the problems that are assigned, you want to go to your textbook, find section 6.1, flip through to the end of section 6.1, you'll find a set of homework problems there. Okay? Use your homework assignment sheet to see which of those homework problems I've assigned and work through those on a piece of paper, or if you're doing the tablet thing, you can also do it that way. Okay? So that's the idea. Now also, like I mentioned before, when you're submitting homework assignments, I want you to be submitting an entire assignment as one PDF file, not multiple. So again, going back to my example, if for the first week we cover sections 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, I want all three of those sections worth of your work to be a single PDF file. What I don't want is for you to scan 6.1 as a PDF, scan 6.2 as a separate PDF, and scan 6.3 as a separate PDF, and then upload 3 PDFs for your homework. Please don't do that. I want everything scanned in order as one file each week, okay? Homework will always be due on Mondays by 11:59 p.m., so just the end of that day. So what that means is that, on week 1, I'm going to give you your first homework assignment. You have the whole week to work on it. And then Monday of the following week is when you're going to submit that. Okay? And you have until the end of the day on that following Monday to submit it. You'll see those assignment due dates on Canvas also, so there should be no confusion there. Okay? The way that homework is graded is that each section is worth 5 points. So again, returning to my example of homework 1, if I cover 6.1, 6.2, 6.3 in that first week, each of those sections will be worth 5 points each. So that means the first homework assignment would be a total of 15 points. That's how the scoring works for that. I grade your homework based completely on completeness. It's not for accuracy. I'm not checking all of your homework problems to see if you did them right or not. There is not enough time in the day for that, I have discovered. So if you're looking for feedback on homework and stuff like that, I am not giving that automatically, okay? You can ask questions if you want feedback in the discussion topics, and I can give that to you kind of on a problem by problem basis. But there is not enough time for me to go through all of your homework problems and say, well, here's my feedback on this one and here's my feedback on that one. It's not possible. So if you get a full 15 points on your first assignment, for example, that's not an indication that you did everything correctly or perfectly. It just means that I saw that you tried everything. That's what that means. I'm going to add to that as well. The score is not just based on the fact that I see something written down for each problem, but I do need to see that you put some work into it. Okay, so I do get people, because a lot of the problems that I assign are odd numbered problems. You can find the answers in the back of the book. If it's pretty clear to me that all you're doing is just copying answers out of the back of your book and calling it a day, I'm not giving you points for that. Okay, so show me that you put some effort in, even if you couldn't figure out how to solve a problem completely. You got to try something, put some work on the page. Altogether, homework is going to be worth 30% of your grade. So you need to make sure you're staying on top of that, because that's a pretty big chunk of your grade. Let's move on to exams. In this class, we're going to have a total of 5 exams. And the dates for those exams, you can find all of them on the calendar document that's in the syllabus and calendar module in Canvas. So make sure you're looking for that. It's a document. It's going to be at the bottom of that document. You'll see the test dates there. You need to make sure that you are aware of when those test dates are, so that you have some time on each of those days cleared to take those exams. The way exams are going to work is I create the exam as a PDF, and I create something called a quiz in Canvas. So you'll have a tab in Canvas that's just titled Quizzes. When it's a test day, you can go there and you can open up your test. As soon as you click, I forget what the button says, but it's like start my exam or something like that. As soon as you click that, it'll take you to a link where you can download your exam, you can print it out, you can work through your exam by hand, and then scan it and submit it. You do have the option of doing it on a tablet, like I mentioned before. I just recommend against that because of the reasons I mentioned before. But as soon as you click that button and it takes you to that link, a timer will start counting down. You have to have your test finished, scanned, and uploaded before that timer is up. For normal exams, you're going to have 2 hours and 15 minutes total to complete them and upload them. The exams, I'm really thinking of them as 2-hour exams. So that extra 15 minutes in the 2 hours and 15 minutes is really there to make sure that you have time to scan it and to upload it. And in case, there's some kind of an issue with your scanning, it should give you enough time to sort of troubleshoot that. I'll mention this in each exam as well. Sometimes people encounter issues where their internet goes down partway through, or the file's just being finicky for whatever reason. If you can't upload your exam through Canvas for some reason, you can email it to me as a backup option. So you can, make an attachment on an email, send it to me, and then in your email kind of tell me what it is that went wrong. I'll accept it that way as well, and I'll remind you that you can do that when we come up to each of the exams that we come up against. I do have a policy where I drop your lowest exam score. So out of those 5 exams, I'm really only I'm counting only the top 4 to your final grade. So you do have sort of a safety net of sorts with that dropped exam. And then in total, exams will account for 50% of your grade. So those are a big chunk as well. Make sure that you're not missing those and that you're putting the time into preparing for those also. Almost done, guys. So the final exam is the next piece right here. Final exam is going to be at the end of the course. The date for that will also show up on that calendar document. One thing I think I forgot to mention about exams up here, I'll mention it here as well. The date for each of your exams plus your final exam are set, right? So those are on specific days. You have to take those exams on those days, but I'm not requiring you to take it at a specific time. So on an exam day, whether it's one of these exams or your final exam, you can pick when you want to start that exam. You just need to make sure that you're not starting the exam at like 11 p.m. because the exam does have to be submitted by 11:59 p.m. And so if you wait until like 11 o'clock at night, you're not going to get the full 2 hours and 15 minutes. Or for the final exam, I'm giving you 3 hours and 15 minutes to complete it. So don't wait too long, right? But the final exam is going to function in a similar way. This is worth 20% of your grade, and this is not one of the exams that can be dropped, okay? So up here where I say that I drop your lowest exam score, that specifically applies only to non-final exams. This one is going to count no matter how you score on it, okay? Below that is my grading scale. It's the standard one that you're used to, I'm sure. 90 to 100% is an A, 80 to 89% is a B, and so on. Obviously, you can get like an 89.2 or an 89.5 or things like that. So, that the scale includes those decimal values and things like that. Over here is a breakdown of your score by homework exams and final exam. We talked about these percentages already. Last little bit here, cheating. This is standard on all of my syllabi, whether it's an in-person class or an online class. If you're caught cheating, then I'm going to give you a 0 for whatever it is that you're cheating on. And, I might refer you to a discipline officer. So this part of the blurb I use for, in-person classes mostly, about, not using an unapproved calculator and stuff like that. But the issue with online classes and cheating is people, getting help from somebody else, online, posting questions online and having somebody else do the work for you. I've gotten fairly good at figuring out when people are doing that. And I've also given people 0s on tests because I've caught them doing that. You really don't want that to happen to you. The tests have to be your original work. You can't be, paying somebody else to take your test for you. I have a couple of ways and sources of figuring out if people are doing that, which I'm going to be using. So make sure that you are not, just don't put yourself in that position. Finally, last little bit here, students with learning or physical disabilities or with any special needs as they pertain to the course should let me know as soon as possible. And the way to get accommodations for those needs is to go through our DSPS office on campus. So usually what those accommodations look like are extra time on tests. That's the most common one. Sometimes there's other accommodations that need to be made, but for an online class, that tends to be the main one. So I can only give you those accommodations if you've had them approved through our DSPS office. Make sure you've gone through that if you need any accommodations like that. Okay, that should cover everything for our syllabus. And of course, if you have any questions, use our discussion topics, or you can also email me as well. All right, looking forward to an awesome semester.